Thank you so much for signing up to volunteer for the Mooresville Back to School Bash. This year, our event is going to look very different. Students and families attending the bash will be required to stay inside their vehicle until the optional clothing area located at the end of our drive-thru. Before we get started with your job-specific training video, let's go over a few basics. All volunteers will be required to wear a mask and gloves while on site at Mooresville Middle School. We are taking every precaution to ensure that our volunteers and attendees stay safe during this unprecedented time. We ask that you please bring your own masks. We will have a limited amount of extra masks to give out, but we will supply all of our volunteers with a pair of gloves to wear. If you feel sick, have a fever, or any other symptoms of coronavirus, we ask that you please stay home and email us via info@b2sb.org so we will fill your spot with another volunteer. You should have received an email with information on your volunteer time, location, and parking information. However, let's review. The bash is going to be held at Mooresville Middle School, located at 233 Kistler Farm Road, Mooresville, North Carolina, from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. every night. This year, the event is split over 4 days: Tuesday, July 14th, Wednesday, July 15th, Thursday, July 16th, and Friday, July 17th. Please plan to arrive at 5 p.m. on your volunteer days, if at all possible. Arriving by 5:15 is extremely important because you need time to park, meet your team leader, and get ready. Bash attendees will start arriving promptly at 5:30 p.m., so please help us be ready for their arrival. When you arrive, you can enter via Kistler Farm Road through the main bash entrance, which will be marked with signage. You can see this entrance on the map on your screen. You will then park in one of our volunteer parking spaces labeled on the map. There's an additional volunteer parking lot that you can enter via the service road that is also marked on the map. If you are coming in a long truck that would likely stick past a parking space, please park in the back parking lot via the service road. When you arrive on site, please check in before heading to your station. Checking in allows us to keep track of who is here. It also allows us to direct you to your correct volunteer location and tell you who your partner will be if your station requires partner work. Check out the map above for a check-in table location. Dinner will be supplied to volunteers every night of bash. Tuesday and Wednesday, volunteers will receive a hot dog dinner. Thursday, pizza is going to be provided, and on Friday, there will be Chick-fil-A. Please arrive before 5:30 in order to have time to eat your meal, or you can grab it during any free time throughout the night. Now, let's get to your job-specific training information. Thank you so much for volunteering to be in our clothing area at the bash this year. Make sure you are wearing your mask and gloves while performing your role. Clothing volunteers have two main roles, the first of which is to enforce our clothing area rules that are related to coronavirus. On your screen, you will see the banner that will be displayed in the clothing area during bash. All of these rules must be followed. For the bottom bullet point, we will place a number there during bash to tell people how many articles of clothing they may take. Some of the most important things to do are to ensure that everyone has a mask on, everyone is staying 6 feet apart, and that everyone gets a pair of gloves or uses hand sanitizer before touching any of the clothes. It is our hope that most attendees will bring their own masks. However, we will have a limited number to give out to people if they do not bring their own.
I'm sorry, but to enter the clothing area, you need a mask and gloves or hand sanitizer.
The second main role of a clothing volunteer is to keep the clothing tables stocked with clothes. The tables will be marked with gender, size, and type of clothing. There will be boxes behind the table with the same labeling system. When a stack of clothing gets low on the table, you will be in charge of refilling that pile. If you have any questions, be sure to ask your team lead. They will be wearing a bright-colored team leader shirt. If you need a Spanish interpreter, ask your team lead to radio them for you. Try to always stay 6 feet away from other volunteers and bash attendees. Thank you again for volunteering your time to help the students in your local community. If you have become unavailable for a volunteer slot you signed up for, please email info@b2sb.org so we can delete your registration. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, you can also email us to get in touch. We will likely be sending out a reminder email closer to your volunteer date that has information such as your team leader's name. Thank you so much for supporting the Mooresville Back to School Bash.